Hello YouTube, Great RJ1 here, and today I'm back with another concept video. This one is about pre-Vizsla. Now most pre-Vizsla guides will actually have pre-Vizsla using a pistol, but mine will have him using the dark saber. I feel like he deserves to have the dark saber. I feel like it's more right having pre-Vizsla using it, because he is the ruler of Mandalore, or at least was before Maul took over. I don't know who the next ruler of Mandalore is, but technically it's Darth Sidious, and then technically it was Anakin, and then technically it was Luke, and then technically it was, I think he probably would have been Leia, and then technically it probably would have been Rey. So yeah, if I'm being correct though, so yeah, so pre-Vizsla, his speed would be about the speed of Boba Fett, but he would be a bit faster. Not too fast, but a bit faster. Maybe about the speed of Count Dooku. I feel like that's a good speed for him. I feel like it's not too fast and it's not too slow, so maybe about Count Dooku's speed. His weapon of choice would be the dark saber. His stamina would be able to do 12 attacks, so slightly above average. He's not a force user, so this does not exact, so he doesn't really need to be that powerful with his stamina. His lightsaber blocking stamina would probably be 11, and blaster bolt stamina would probably be 10, so his stamina does slightly get lower every single time. He will be able to deflect blaster bolts, so because all the other saber users do, and it doesn't really make sense if he can't, if all the others can, even if Grievous has very low stamina, and unless excluding Yoda, because he does not use a lightsaber to block bolts, he uses the force. Anyway, his health and his stamina recovery delay will be about a second. Health recovery from 0 stamina to full will be about probably 2 seconds. Feel like that's pretty good for being the ruler of Mandalore. So, health. His health would probably be about, I actually don't know, probably would be about 700 or 750. I think 700's pretty good for him. He's not a force user, but he does use a lightsaber for this concept, so I think 700 is a good choice. Pretty even, but it's not too high, not too low, not too high. So his health recovery would be about 200 as well. I feel like, his health would be 700, and his health recovery would be about 200. Remember, he's not a force user, he's not used the force, so I feel like 700 is pretty good for him, as it sort of balances him out, especially since he's not a force user. Now, health recovery delay, I'd say about 2 seconds. I keep on knocking people off with the lightning. Health recovery from breaking his health regen probably would be another 2 seconds. So now we can get into his damage output and abilities. Since he is not a force user, his damage output would be about 120 from the front on all enemies, and 150 from the back on all enemies. So now we can get into his abilities. So his first ability would be called For Mandalore. This one would make the dark saber become more electricity-like, as that was shown in Rebels. And basically, for every successful hit on an enemy, the enemy will get stunned. This will have a cooldown of about 3 seconds before this stun can happen again. The stun will last about 1 second, I'm going to allow you to get at least one swinging, if not two. Keep on knocking enemies off with my lightning, don't I? His damage would also get increased a bit. It would go from 120 to 130 from the front and 150 to 160 at the back. So this does not really affect too much on enemy troopers, but you also get a bit of damage reduction for about 20. Don't think it should be too high since he's not a force user, and I feel like 20 should be good. So I feel like that's a good decision since he's not a force user. It will last for about 10 seconds, so we can use the stun about twice in the ability. Might lower it down to every 2 seconds, but I feel like that would be a bit too overpowered. So every 4 or 3 seconds. I think I'll change it to probably 3. I feel like that would be a bit more fair since he's allowed to do it at 3 times in the ability then. So yeah, the cooldown, since it actually gives stuns the enemy, it will be about 15 seconds. It's not too crazy of an ability. If it was like Dooku's Duelist, I'd probably give it a 20 or second cooldown, if not a 16 or 18 second cooldown, for how powerful it is if it included the effects of Dooku's Duelist. But of course it does not. So we can now get into the middle ability. This one will be called Vizsla's Pistol, and this will just change him to his pistol. This is not a sort of free switch an ability like you're meant to be using the dark saber more, as he's more meant for close combat. He's meant to combo this with his jetpack. The jetpack works the same way as Django's and Mando's jetpack from my concepts of them, so I won't go over it again. But I'll do it just in case. Yeah, just in case you don't want to watch those. Basically, the jetpack has about 100 health. Once it gets to 0, it cannot fly for about 2 seconds until at least some of the health has been, until it's back at max health. It will regen 20 health a second, so you have to wait a couple seconds for you to be able to fly again. If it reaches 0 health, you cannot fly until all your health for the jetpack is back. Now 50 health on your health bar will be 100 health on the jetpack's health bar. So do keep that in mind. So yeah, that's basically how the jetpack works with unlimited jetpack fuel. So, exactly it. Now we can get into his pistol. Basically, this would change to his This would change into his pistol. This would be active for about ever until you decide to stop using it. So yeah, once you stop using it, it will go into about a 10 second cooldown. Now this will have a heat bar. The heat bar will be basically, you can do 10 up shots until it overheats and needs to get cooled down. Damage 100 to the body and 150 to the head. So he does basically back damage with it. The damage is more, it does not have a damage drop off, as this is meant to be used when you're flying with your jetpack. So you're meant to be flying with your jetpack when using this. So do keep that in mind. However, he will become more vulnerable when using it, So this is sort of meant so you can tell this is for his jetpack, because otherwise it would not be at a lower ability. It would not increase the damage. The damage increase would be by 20%. So he gets extra damage done to him while the pistol's out. But this is meant to be used when you're flying with your jetpack, because he does not have a way to attack enemies unless he deflects bolts while flying with his jetpack. And if you're fighting a lightsaber hero and you're in a 1v1 with them, you're never going to be able to really deflect anything back at them. So basically that would be a bit useless. I'd say a bit. Took all 4 of them out immediately, basically. Anyway, that would be his middle ability. Since it's not an ability that's too powerful, so I would give it about a 5-second cooldown. Its last ability would be called probably the Rule of Mandalore or something like that. And you know, when he was dueling Darth Maul, he sent out like something like ninja stars at Maul and it scratched his face. Well, this would be what the ability is. It would basically send out 2 ninja stars at his enemies. Now this is a unblockable attack, so it cannot be blocked. So all his other abilities can get blocked. So yeah. So we got that out of the way. Basically the ninja stars will deal about probably 200 damage to infantry and probably 210 damage to 190 damage to heroes and reinforcements. So 190 damage to heroes and reinforcements, 200 damage to the infantry. So that's basically all his abilities other than his jetpack. His dash would be basically his jetpack and only would have 2. And he can fly with the jetpack, we already spoke about that. So he can dash in the air while blocking in the air as well. So we got all that out of the way. We can now get into his abilities. Well, I mean his star cards. Oh, I tried to dash back. But yeah, now we can get into his star cards. And I do have quite a couple appearances planned for him. Only about 3 though, because there's not too many appearance options for him. There's only about 3. So it all blows into the screen. Right, so now we can head over to the collection menu and go into his star cards. First star card, this would increase his health regen. This would go from 30 to 60 to 90 to 100, increasing his health regen from 200 to 300. I feel like this would improve his gameplay. He already has quite low health and health regen, so this would basically improve it. Next will be his stamina is increased. This would go from 2 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 8. So his stamina is increased on attacking with his lights with the dark saber from. You'd get 20 swings, 19 lightsaber blocking, and 18 lightsaber and 18 blaster blocking staminas. So he has quite a lot more stamina now. Oh wait, I didn't go over the star thing, did I? So this one would just have since it's an unblockable attack, and the damage is not shared between each star. Just saying, for how powerful it is, I'd probably give it not a 50-minute cooldown or 50 seconds, probably a 30-second cooldown for how powerful it is. Anyway, this would basically decrease the recharge time of that ability. This would only go from 1 second to 4 seconds, so from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, basically giving him a 26-second cooldown on it, which is still quite long. So this one would be one of his useless cards, to be fair, and I feel like this would just be a card that isn't used a lot, but still it's good. And I didn't go over the best star cards for Django. Basically, I'd say the health for the jetpack, I think, did I give him a damage reduction card? I think I did. Basically, the health for the jetpack, the damage reduction while flying, and I don't think I went over it, but yeah, those are the two first cards I can still remember. Anyway, next card for Vizsla. This one will basically just improve the health and stamina recovery regen time. This one would just shave off a second, so this would be at max, so it'd be from 0.1 to 0.5 to 0.9 to 1, so that you have a 1 second recharge time. This one would decrease its delay, which is about 2 seconds, and it'll be the same as this card from 0.1 to 0.5 to 0.9 to 1 second, basically giving it a 1 second delay, basically taking you 2 seconds to get your stamina back instead of 4, and health. Now this one would decrease the recharge time of Vizsla's pistol. This would be a very minor upgrade, because it's only will make it go from 0.5 to 1 to 1.5 to 2. You only get a 2 second reduction, which gives it an 8 second, I think, was it an 8? Did I give it a 10 second cooldown? Because I think I did, didn't I? It was a 10 or 15. I think I gave it a 10, didn't I? I think I actually gave it a 15, so 11 second cooldown. Next up, his damage reduction is slightly increased while for Mandalore is active. This one will basically increase his damage reduction by a small bit. This would go from 1, this would go from 20, this would go to 21, 25, this would basically go from 22 to 23 to 24 to 25, giving him 25% damage reduction while it's being active. Next up, this one would increase the amount of health he gets from his passive ability. It would go from 20 on infantry to up to 30, so it would go from 20 to 21, 22, 25 to 30 extra health, and on heroes and reinforcements 101, 103, 105, and eventually to 110. So he gets a bit more health from the killing heroes and infantry. And lastly, the time for Mandalore, actually no, his lightsaber damage is increased. This would go from 120 to 120 to 120 for 128 to 130 from the front, and then basically the same but being 160 from the back. And this does increase it with the ability, so it will go to 140 to the front and 170 from the back for Mandalore. That's all these star cards, pretty generic. The emotes, there's not really too many emotes other than for Mandalore really. So now his default appearance, this would be called Ruler or something like that, and this would just be his Mandalorian armour with the helmet on. His second appearance would basically be the same appearance without the helmets with his hair. The last one would basically be the last appearance without the hair. So really his appearances are not too different from each one. So this is a pretty generic hero really, and not really too much of a difference for him. Anyway, that will be it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.